Yeah. If you tell me Douglas Adams is like Terry Pratchett, I will throw you out of a window. So I'm going to be ranking for you all 11 books I read in January today. And January was actually a pretty good month for me. I got an average rating of 3.77 on my story graph, which I think is higher than I usually get. And a lot of really good reads at the kind of high end, even if there were a few down at the lower end, and a real range. So let's talk about it. My bottom two reads for this month are actually really disappointing for me. I actually would have believed you if you told me these would be my top two books in January, but unfortunately they didn't quite land for me. So number 11, we have An Arcane Inheritance. This is set at a magical Ivy League that has got itself into the Ivy Leagues through some kind of dodgy means, I think. To be honest, I don't really understand the US education system, and the more I learn about the US education system, the less I think I understand about it. So there are a few problems there for me personally that lots of Americans won't have, and it wasn't a major thing. I think the real problem with this book for me was that I was bored. That's not something people really say in reviews, and it's probably not a very useful term to use, but I'm using it anyway. This just failed to excite me. There was this mystery that just kept going on and on and on, and I didn't really care. This romance that was just so manufactured and dull. And quite frankly, although the twist at the end of this book was really good, by the time I got to that twist, I no longer cared about anything. Camilla Cole deals with the themes of this book really well, as she has with her previous works, but I would definitely recommend checking out her other works. So Let Them Burn was a much stronger entry into her bibliography for me. I'm genuinely so ashamed that this is in number 10 because I love this author and I wanted to love this book. And I think it's the third novella in a trilogy, and it is The Daughter Who Remains. And I was so excited to get an arc of this one, and it didn't work for me, unfortunately. I think the main problem I had is it would just been too long since the last novella had come out, and I didn't really remember all that many details, and there isn't time in a novella to get into them. So it wasn't impactful for me emotionally, thematically. Uh, I hate that this is here, but it is, and I have to reflect how much I enjoyed this book, and I didn't really love this one. So unfortunately, it's at number 10. I want it to be higher, but no, number 10, 3 stars. At number 9, we have Ninth House by Leigh Bardugo. This is another fantasy, dark academia, and I have something of a confession, which is that I didn't actually think dark academia was supposed to be dark necessarily. I think I read a lot of academia books that are put into dark academia, but don't have the dark part. And so I wasn't expecting this to be dark, and then it was dark. I was very confused. Also, it's part of the Alex Stern trilogy, and it turns out Alex Stern is a woman, which for some reason was surprising to me. And it took me a while to get used to that, which, well, does not really impact the quality of the book at all. I was just expecting Alex to be a man, and then Alex wasn't a man. Yeah, I mean, what a thoughtful piece of reviewing I'm doing here for this book. It was paranormal. It didn't excite me. It didn't interest me. It wasn't what I was expecting. It was fine. Number 8, we have Trail of Lightning by Rebecca Roanhorse. Now, if you know me, you know I love Rebecca Roanhorse, and I love Black Sun. It's here. Okay, this is just an excuse to show off how stunning this cover is. Ah. Uh, anyway, we're talking about Trail of Lightning, not Black Sun, if I can manage to keep my head on. This is a very short novel. It's YA, and it's pretty good. I don't really enjoy Rebecca Roanhorse's shorter fiction. I think she needs more pages to really shine, to develop a compelling world, compelling characters. It's a real talent to be able to write short fiction, and I'm not sure it's a talent that Rebecca Roanhorse necessarily has. She has loads of other talents for storytelling, but I just think she needs a few more pages to properly develop something compelling, not to mention another annoying romance that just was so inevitable and didn't really make sense that pissed me off. A lot of those this month were really itchy nose, guys. Oh, just quickly, I did give that a 7 out of 10, so it was good. Don't get me wrong. These books were all pretty good. Number 7, we have The Raven Scholar at 7.5 out of 10. This has been everywhere. Everyone's talking about it. It's amazing. It's incredible. Yada, yada, yada. And it's very good. But is it as good as everyone says it is? No. No. It's great. I loved it, but it's not. I don't understand why we're screaming about it. I mean, admittedly, it's getting screamed about less than Sun Eater, and Sun Eater sucks. It wasn't necessary for me to bring up Sun Eater, but I have. Anyway, we're talking about The Raven Scholar. This is a kind of murder mystery trial book. It's adult trial book, which is unusual, and it's done quite well. The world building was quite fun. The characters were pretty entertaining, if a little bit caricature-y at times. The plot kept me reading. Yeah, I enjoyed this well enough, but it wasn't crazy. It wasn't doing anything mind-blowing. I don't understand why we're all screaming about it. Let's calm down. Let's take a seat, have a sip of coffee, and just, it's good. It's a fine book. We don't need to be screaming about everything, okay? Sometimes it's okay to just, it was a very good book. Yeah. Down Among the Sticks and Bones was incredible, and everyone needs to read it right now. Sorry, that was funnier in my head. At number 6, we have Down Among the Sticks and Bones, which is the next book in the Wayward Children's series. Now, I actually read the first book of this last year and then kind of forgot I read it until I made a top 10 list and went, that was so good. And then I included it in my top 10, and now I'm continuing the series because I don't know why I didn't earlier. This is very different from the first book. So the first book, we have this home for children who've been into portals and returned from them. This follows one of the children in that book as they go into their portal, which means you kind of already know what's going to happen if you've read the first book, because they've come out of the portal and you know what was in the portal. So there was a lot of lack of tension there because I knew what was going to happen, which is odd. It's an odd decision. And there was a lot less variety of character than the first book because we're just following this single POV. Admittedly, it's twins, so yeah, there are 2 POVs. Anyway, I did really enjoy this still. I love the parents being these kind of neat freaks who had children for the sake of image. That was a really interesting premise and done pretty well, although not overly relevant in the latter half of the story once they'd gone down the portal. I'm going to continue this series, but I have lower expectations because I have a feeling we're just going to be following single POVs now rather than the big house that we had at the start, which I really loved with all of these different children. I have the world's itchiest nose today. What the fuck? At number 5, we have The Silverblood Promise. Now, I have a full review on the channel with the greatest thumbnail YouTuber's ever seen attached to it, so go and check out that if you haven't already. For the sake of not spoiling that review, I'm not going to go into too much depth, but this was a fun read, if not particularly exciting or original. Why is this bitch so itchy, man? Ow. The Everlasting by Alex E. Harrow is at number 4, and this is much higher up on the list than I was expecting. The first quarter of this book was fine, pretty generic Arthurian legends, except with this girl boss knight and this very nervous, mousy little scholar man. And then it really ramped up from there. There's this one element of it that just makes it super unique that I haven't really seen done within the fantasy genre, and I love seeing. The romance is terrible, and some of the scenes were quite hard to read. Ooh, that what I mean by this is that I don't need to hear about the boner of this man. He didn't feel the like he should have boners. At number 3, we have Small Gods from Terry Pratchett. This is a more standalone Discworld novel. I have put off Discworld for about a year now because I am oh my god. I don't want it to end. I don't want it to end, and I only have a few books left, but I think I'm finally ready to power through the last kind of 3 or so books, and I adored this. I love Terry Pratchett. This is one of his strongest works. It is a really interesting exploration of religion in general. I'm not religious myself, but I found it very fascinating, and Pratchett is just a genius. He's a genius, and there's no one else like Pratchett. If you tell me Douglas Adams is like Terry Pratchett, I will throw you out of a window. He is a totally unique author. You can't replicate him. I love him. I love that man. I miss him. So on to my top 2 books. These are both rated at 9 out of 10, which is insane for the first month of the year. That doesn't happen. Admittedly, one is a Dunder and Crawler Carl book. It is book 5 of Dunder and Crawler Carl, and I can't remember the name of it. The Butcher's Masquerade. I looked at my laptop. I cheated. This is great, and the stakes went up, and I cried in the street like a little baby on my way home from the gym, and also a little bit in the gym, but I mostly kept it in the gym, but then on the way home, floods. Anyway, yeah, he's ramping up, the scale's getting bigger. I still don't think he's going to end the series well, but this was a very, very, very strong entry. I think probably from an objective perspective, the strongest entry. From an enjoyment perspective, still slightly lower than the first book, just because I knew that it was going to be incredible, and for some reason I thought the first book would be average. I don't know what I was thinking, but it just blew my expectations out of the water, so it got rated higher. And I did actually originally rate this at 9.5, and then I thought, no, it's too early in the year for a 9.5, which is so stupid. I'm an idiot. But anyway, it got a 9. That's actually first. I don't know why I've done this out of order. Second was The Poet Empress, which oh oh I don't want to talk about because it hurt me. It really hurt me, and it was horrible. It was so emotionally. I'm not recovered yet. I'm not recovered yet. I don't think I'll ever be recovered. I don't subscribe and like and whatever. I don't want to talk about it. We're done. We're done here. End of video.
3, 6, 5, go. 3, 6, 5, go. 3, 6, 5, go.